My name is Liana Verne. I'm 27 years old. And on Christmas night, my grandfather looked across the dinner table and asked me, "Do you like the house I bought you?" I didn't even know how to breathe. The air left my lungs. My throat closed. I just stared at him, frozen, and whispered, "What house?" The table went silent. Dead silent. My mother's fork slipped out of her hand and clattered against the plate. My father's face went pale, drained of all color like someone had punched him in the stomach. My grandfather's smile, that warm, hopeful smile, it disappeared instantly. Just vanished. He stood up. His chair scraped against the floor. He slammed his palms on the table so hard the wine glasses shook, and he yelled, "Show me the deed. Now." That moment destroyed everything I thought I knew about my family, everything I believed about who loved me and who didn't, everything I thought was real. If your family ever kept a life-changing secret from you, you need to hear this story. You need to hear every word of what I'm about to tell you. And if you're watching this without subscribing, at least tell me in the comments why, because missing stories like this can leave you blind to the truth sitting right at your own table. The truth that's been rotting there for years while you smiled and passed the potatoes. But before that moment, before that Christmas dinner that tore my world apart, I had no idea my life had already been stolen from me. I had no idea that every struggle, every sleepless night, every time I chose between paying rent or eating, it was all unnecessary. It was all a lie. And the people who made me suffer, the people who watched me drown, they were sitting right across from me every single day, smiling, pretending they cared. I grew up in a small apartment. Cramped. Dark. The kind of place where you can hear your neighbors fighting through the walls at 2 a.m. My parents always said money was tight. Always. It was their answer to everything. "We can't afford that, Liana. Money doesn't grow on trees, Liana. Maybe next year, Liana." So I worked. I worked 2 jobs starting at 16. I skipped school trips while my classmates went to Washington, D.C. and posted pictures I pretended not to care about. I gave up things I needed, winter coats, decent shoes, a laptop that didn't crash every 5 minutes, because I believed we were barely surviving. Meanwhile, my grandfather, Roman Verne, was wealthy, respected, generous with everyone in town. Everyone. He donated to charities. He helped families in need. He was known as the man with a big heart. Except with me. Or so I thought. My parents always kept me away from him. Always. Whenever he visited, they rushed me to my room like I was some dirty secret. "Go upstairs, Liana. Grandpa's here. Go to your room." They said he brought drama. They said he didn't care about us. They said he was toxic, controlling, manipulative. But as I got older, I started noticing something strange. Something that didn't add up. He sent letters addressed to me. I saw the envelopes. My name, written in his careful handwriting. But they never reached my hands. Never. Not once. I saw them once, locked in a drawer my mother thought I didn't know about. A stack of them. Unopened. Collecting dust like they meant nothing. Anyone watching who feels like they've been cut off from someone who truly cared, don't ignore that feeling. Don't brush it aside like I did for years. If you're not subscribed, you're going to miss what happened the night I finally learned the truth. The night everything I thought I knew turned to ash. Because everything led to that Christmas dinner. Everything. The dining room was beautiful that night. Decorated like something out of a magazine. Holiday lights strung across the mantel. Candles flickering. Laughter echoing off the walls. It looked perfect. It felt like a lie. My grandfather arrived unexpectedly with gifts for everyone. Wrapped in expensive paper. Ribbons. Bows. The whole performance. My parents looked uncomfortable the second he walked through the door. Every second he was there, they shifted in their seats. Glanced at each other. Forced smiles that didn't reach their eyes. He kept glancing at me. Not in a creepy way. In a waiting way. Like he was searching for something in my face. Like he expected me to say something, do something, acknowledge something I had no idea existed. Then dessert came. My mother brought out pie. My father poured coffee. Normal. Routine. Safe. My grandfather tapped his glass with his spoon. The room fell quiet. He smiled at me. A real smile.
Warm.
Hopeful. Painful to look at. And then he asked the question that cracked reality open like an egg smashed against pavement. Liana, do you like the house I bought you? My parents froze. Actually froze. Like someone hit pause on their existence. They didn't breathe. Didn't blink. Didn't move. I whispered, "What house?"
His face changed.
The warmth drained out. His jaw tightened. His eyes filled with confusion, then understanding, then rage. Pure, volcanic rage. Right here, pause your scrolling just for a second. If you're not subscribed, explain why.
Seriously.
Because stories like this are real, and staying blind to family secrets can cost you everything. Everything you thought was safe. Everything you thought was true. And when he demanded the deed, all hell broke loose. My grandfather roared. Actually roared like a wounded animal. Where is the deed? I bought her a home 6 months ago. My parents pretended to act shocked.
They gasped.
They widened their eyes. They played the part perfectly. What are you talking about? My mother stammered. Roman, you're confused. You're not making sense. They lied. Right to his face. They stuttered through excuses. They tried to deflect. Maybe you're misremembering. Are you feeling okay? This is inappropriate. Then he pulled out a folder. A thick manila folder he'd been carrying all night. Inside was proof. Bank statements. Legal documents. Signatures.
Dates.
He bought a house in my name. My name. He transferred ownership. He wired money for renovation. Thousands. Tens of thousands. But the address was wrong. He paid for a house in my name, but the address belonged to my parents. Their names on the utilities. Their car in the driveway. Their furniture inside. My parents stole my gift. They intercepted the deed. They forged documents. They moved in. They lived in it. And they blocked me from ever knowing it existed. I started shaking. My hands trembled so hard I had to grip the table. Everything I struggled for, scraping together rent, living paycheck to paycheck, choosing between gas and groceries, it was all unnecessary. All of it. I had a home. A whole house. And they just took it. They watched me suffer and did nothing because they were too busy enjoying what was mine. My mother tried to speak. Liana, sweetheart, this is a misunderstanding. Shut up. My grandfather's voice was ice. Don't you dare speak to her. My father stood up. You have no right to come into our home. Your home. My grandfather laughed. A horrible, broken sound. You're living in her home. You stole it. If you ever worked for something while someone close to you took advantage, then you understand why this story matters. You understand the betrayal, the rage, the feeling of being gutted while people who claimed to love you smiled and lied and stole. If you're watching this silently, subscribe because people like this rely on silence. They rely on victims staying quiet. Don't be one of the silent ones. Don't let them win. But the night wasn't done destroying lies. Not even close. My grandfather demanded paperwork. Show me the original deed. Show me the transfer documents. Show me anything that proves you didn't steal from her. My parents refused. They crossed their arms. They claimed they didn't have to prove anything. They said he was being dramatic, cruel, out of line. My grandfather pulled out his phone. He made one call. Just one. Minutes later, 2 people arrived at the door. His personal legal team. Financial investigators. They didn't waste time with pleasantries. They revealed something worse. Something so much worse, I thought I was going to vomit right there at the table. Not just the house. There was a trust fund in my name. A trust fund. College money. Medical expenses. Living expenses. Emergency funds. Everything a grandfather who loved his granddaughter would set aside to make sure she had a future. My parents forged my signature. Multiple times. Across years. They drained everything. Every cent. They spent it on vacations I never went on. Cars I never drove. Renovations to a house I didn't know I owned. Right in front of everyone, relatives, family, friends, neighbors who'd stopped by for dessert. They were exposed. The legal team laid out documents on the table like evidence at a crime scene. Bank statements, forged signatures, withdrawal records.
My mother started crying.
Not sorry tears. Caught tears. We were going to tell you, she sobbed. We were protecting you. Protecting me? I couldn't even recognize my own voice. You let me work myself to exhaustion. You let me go hungry. You watched me struggle, and you said nothing. My father tried a different approach. Anger. You don't understand what we've sacrificed for you. Sacrificed. My grandfather stepped between us. You sacrificed nothing. You stole everything. If you're still here and you're not subscribed, explain why in the comments. I'm serious. Stories like this aren't just entertainment, they're warnings. Secrets like these can be happening behind your back right now. People you trust could be bleeding you dry while smiling at Sunday dinner. My world collapsed. Everything I thought was solid turned to sand. But my grandfather wasn't finished. My grandfather's voice broke. This strong, powerful man who'd just demolished my parents' lies. He started to cry. He revealed he spent years trying to connect with me. Years. He sent letters every month. Birthday cards. Christmas cards. Postcards from his travels. He paid for school supplies my parents said they couldn't afford. He set up funds to protect my future. He called. He visited. He tried. My parents hid everything. They blocked his messages. They threw away gifts. They intercepted mail. They told him I didn't want to see him. They told him I thought he was controlling, that I'd ask them to keep him away. They poisoned both sides. I thought you ignored me, he whispered, tears streaming down his face. I thought you read my letters and chose not to respond. I thought you didn't want me in your life. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't speak. All those years I thought he didn't care. All those times I saw him in town and he looked at me with such sadness, I thought he was disappointed in me. I thought I wasn't good enough. I thought I'd done something wrong. My parents made us both believe we were unwanted. They isolated us from each other so they could steal in peace. I never ignored you. I finally choked out. I never even knew you were trying. My mother tried to defend herself. We were protecting her from your control. Control? My grandfather turned on her. I gave her freedom. You gave her chains. If you've ever been lied to about someone who truly cared, don't let this be another situation you ignore. Don't let manipulators win by staying silent. Subscribe, or at least comment why you're not. Staying silent only helps people who hide the truth. Only helps people who destroy relationships for their own gain. Then came the moment that changed the entire story. My grandfather pulled out one final document. One last piece of evidence he'd been saving. His face was calm now. Cold. Calculated. He announced that he had full financial control over everything he'd ever gifted my parents. Everything. The car they drove. The furniture in their apartment. The appliances. The renovations they'd done with his money, thinking he'd never find out. He stripped them of it instantly. Not later. Not after negotiations. Right there. He made phone calls. He canceled access to accounts. He shut down credit lines. He revoked permissions. He stopped the renovations they were doing to the house, my house, using his money. My parents fell apart. Completely fell apart. My father started yelling, getting in my grandfather's face. My mother grabbed my arm, her nails digging in. Liana, stop him. Tell him to stop. We're family. Family? I ripped my arm away. You don't know what that word means. They screamed. They begged. They accused me of ruining the family. They said I was ungrateful. They said I was being manipulated. They said I'd regret this. My grandfather cut through the noise with one sentence. One sentence that silenced the entire room like a gunshot. You didn't steal from me. You stole from her. The room went dead quiet, because that was the truth they couldn't spin, couldn't defend, couldn't explain away. They didn't take from a wealthy old man who could afford it. They took from their daughter. They watched their child suffer. They manufactured her poverty. They created her struggle. And they benefited from it every single day. If you've ever wanted someone who hurt you to finally face consequences, then you understand why this matters. You understand why justice, real justice, is so rare and so necessary. Subscribe because the way justice unfolded next nobody saw coming. Not even me. My grandfather looked at me, then at them. Then he said 4 words. Get in the car. We drove in silence. My parents in one car with the legal team. Me and my grandfather in his. I didn't know where we were going. I was numb. Completely numb. Then we pulled up to a house. A beautiful house.
Modern.
Clean lines. Big windows.
A yard.
A real yard with trees and flower beds. The kind of place I used to drive past and dream about. This is yours, my grandfather said quietly. I couldn't move. I just stared. He handed me keys. Real keys. Solid and heavy in my hand. He pulled out documents, the real deed, corrected, legal, with my name. Only my name. He'd spent months preparing this moment. Months gathering evidence, fixing the fraud, making sure I'd get what was mine. Then came the final twist that made me want to scream. My parents weren't living there. They rented it out. For profit. They were collecting rent on my house. Pocketing money every month while I scraped together enough for my shoebox apartment. They were landlords of property they stole from me. My grandfather called the tenants right there. Explained everything. Showed them the legal documents. The tenants were horrified, apologetic. They packed and left peacefully within the week. My parents collapsed. Literally collapsed on the front lawn like their strings had been cut. They cried. They wailed. But not because they were sorry. Because they were caught. Because their scheme was over. Because they'd finally have to face consequences. If you're watching this and you've ever been used, betrayed, or manipulated by people who are supposed to protect you, this is where karma speaks. This is where the universe finally balances the scales. Subscribe because missing the next part would be like walking away right before justice arrives. Right before everything they did comes crashing down on their heads. Now the decision was mine. The power was mine. For the first time in my life, I got to choose. Kick my parents out of my life forever, or forgive them. My parents tried to apologize. They grabbed my hands. They looked in my eyes with tears streaming down their faces. We're so sorry, baby. We made mistakes. We were scared. We didn't know what we were doing. But they weren't sorry. Not really. They were sorry they got caught. Sorry the money stopped. Sorry they couldn't keep living off what they stole from me. Real remorse looks different. Real remorse takes accountability. Real remorse doesn't make excuses. My father tried anger again. After everything we've done for you. We raised you. We fed you. We kept a roof over your head. With whose money? My grandfather stepped forward. With hers? With mine? Because you certainly didn't use your own. My mother switched tactics. Liana, please. We're your parents. We love you. Family forgives. I looked at her. Really looked at her. This woman who gave birth to me. Who I thought loved me. Who watched me cry over bills I couldn't pay while she collected rent on my house. Family doesn't steal, I said. Family doesn't lie. Family doesn't forge signatures and drain bank accounts and manufacture suffering for profit. My grandfather put his hand on my shoulder.
Steady.
Solid.
Real.
This is your house. Your life. Your decision, he said quietly. Whatever you choose, I support you. I made my decision. My parents can never touch my money again. Never. They can never speak for me. Never sign my name. Never make decisions about my life. Never control me. I press charges for identity theft. For fraud.
For forgery.
The legal team had everything ready. My parents were arrested that night. Handcuffs. Police car. The whole neighborhood watching. The family exploded. Some relatives took my parents' side. Called me ungrateful, cruel, heartless. Others stayed silent, too scared to get involved. But some, a few, reached out to say they'd suspected something was wrong for years. I stood tall for the first time in my life. Not broken. Not bending. Not apologizing for demanding what was mine. If you've ever been scared to stand up for yourself, Don't let fear keep you silent. Don't let people who hurt you make you feel guilty for protecting yourself. Subscribe or comment why you're not. Because silence only protects the people who hurt you. Silence only gives abusers more time to find new victims. Something unexpected happened after that night. Something I didn't see coming. Weeks passed. I moved into my home. My home. Those words still felt foreign in my mouth. I decorated slowly, carefully. Each piece of furniture was mine. Each choice was mine. My grandfather visited often. We talked for hours. We laughed.
We cried.
We rebuilt what had been stolen from us. Not money, but time.
Trust. Love.
All those years we could have had together. But the real ending came when a box arrived at my door.
Heavy.
Carefully packed. My grandfather's handwriting on the label. Inside were letters.
Hundreds of them.
Every single one he'd ever written to me across the years. Letters my parents kept hidden in that locked drawer. Letters I was never meant to see. I sat on the floor of my living room and read every one, crying so hard I could barely see the words. Birthday wishes. Updates about his life. Advice about school, boys, work, dreams. Questions about what I liked, what I wanted, who I was becoming. He'd been there the whole time, reaching out,
Trying. Caring.
loving me from a distance my parents forced on us. One letter for my 10th birthday. I hope you like the bicycle I sent. Your grandmother and I used to ride bikes every Sunday. I thought maybe you and I could start a tradition too. I never got a bicycle. Another from high school. I set aside money for your college. Whatever you want to study, wherever you want to go. You deserve every opportunity. I worked through college. 2 jobs. Barely sleeping. My grandfather came over that day. Found me surrounded by letters, tears streaming down my face. He sat beside me. Didn't say anything for a long time. Finally, he whispered, "You were never alone. They just kept me from you." I leaned against him. This man who fought for me when no one else did. Who never gave up. Who loved me through years of manufactured silence. I promised him, and myself, that I'd never let anyone control my life again. Never let anyone steal my voice, my choices, my truth. If you believe every person deserves to know the truth, and every victim deserves justice, then stay with us. Subscribe, share, comment where you're watching from, because silence is how secrets survive, and we are done being silent.